餐飲嗰度啦，咁就you can take it.
Okay, all right.
We'll just do a short dialogue, talk about your book.
Okay.
咁呢本書咧，其實咧就我想講一講嘅，佢咧就由劉明偉即係咧大佬個仔到黃之鋒到周庭咧，佢都訪問。梁天琦 as well， 梁天琦 as well。咁就變咗咧就幾有錢幾抗爭乜嘢嘅唔同嘅 background 咧都喺度嘅。咁最後咧就唔係有個結論，就唔係話咧佢係藍絲定係黃絲。So you are the writer. You interview a lot of kids but you focus mainly from those from 15 to 35, right? And from those who are fighters on the street, activists to the tycoons.
Yeah, and also others, people in the arts sector, people in education. So my book's about young people, generational change and identity in Hong Kong. It's not just about politics, and when I talk about identity, it's in a broad sense, and it's about the struggle of young people to define themselves, partly against mainland China, partly against their parents, partly against the Hong Kong establishment. So I think it's a sort of broader examination of an identity crisis in Hong Kong, not purely in a political sense. And just maybe to explain, it might help a little bit about myself very briefly. I've only been here in Hong Kong for 3 years, so I'm the person who knows least about Hong Kong in this building, probably, which is strange, but I've been a journalist for the Financial Times for nearly 10 years. I was previously a correspondent in Indonesia, Vietnam and Singapore, so I kind of look at Hong Kong in a comparative perspective. And my own history, I was a student of history, and I did a lot of research on nationalism in Asia and decolonialization. So I think when I came here, I found a lot of similarities in terms of how people, young people in particular, were imagining a Hong Kong nation, not necessarily a Hong Kong state, which I think is different, but imagining a nation of people, a community of people. And I felt that was similar to my studies in Malaysia and in Vietnam, when those countries were emerging from the shadow of colonialism.
So you missed the umbrella movement?
Yeah.
You came afterwards?
Yeah, I had really bad timing for a foreign correspondent. I mean, clearly it was the biggest news story in Hong Kong in international terms for 20 years, and I came just in early 2015. So, yeah, I was disappointed I'd missed the big story in a way. But I think it very quickly struck me that there were a lot of things still going on in Hong Kong. And as I said, I'd been in Indonesia and Vietnam before, which are both emerging countries with a lot of problems, many more problems in a way than Hong Kong: malnutrition, corruption, very low incomes, lack of jobs. And I came here thinking Occupy was done, everyone told me Hong Kong would get back to normal. Yeah. Hong Kongers are pragmatic, at the end of the day, even these young kids, right, they'll protest a bit, then they'll go back to university, get a degree and go and work for HSBC or a hedge fund or the Financial Times. So I kind of think everyone thought things would go back to normal, so I thought I wouldn't have much to write about Hong Kong really. But then after a few months I sort of detected this feeling of quite strong pessimism, which struck me as very different from the places I'd been before, because although Indonesia and Vietnam are much poorer and emerging, like in mainland China in a way, there's still a strong sense of optimism that they have a long way to improve economically, socially, even politically. But in Hong Kong, I guess, as Wayne was saying before, on the economic front there's a lot of frustration with housing costs and incomes, and then there's this frustration with immigration and the relationship with mainland. So I detected a strong sense of pessimism, but also this sort of almost flourishing at the same time of a Hong Kong identity. So I tried to delve into that in my book and talk to youngsters in different groups and see what was going on from an outsider's perspective.
Okay. From an outsider's perspective, do you think the Hong Kong government would give the pro-democracy youngsters a chance to contest for any seat, whether it is a district council election or electoral, as an outsider?
I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, as a journalist, all I do is report on what has happened, right? And
so
when
you cannot predict.
Things have moved very quickly in the last few years. So when I was researching my book, at that time I went to interview Nathan Law and Joshua Wong and Agnes and Bajio Lung and these other guys who were standing for election, and none of them thought they would win, to be honest. I mean, they thought they had no chance. and they were doing it just for fun and give it a go. But then by the time I finished the book, they won, and then shortly after the book was published, they got kicked out, and then a few months later they got sent to jail, and then they were blocked from standing again. So I think things are moving fast, but it's pretty clear the messaging from Beijing, and you don't need to ask me, you just need to read what Xi Jinping said on July the 1st last year, you need to read what Carrie Lam said. So I don't think there's any secret. You know, as an outsider, the messaging is clear. If you challenge sovereignty of China, if you challenge the authority of the central government, you will not be allowed to play a role in, you know, the state-linked part of the system. And obviously that's partly standing for office. Maybe in future that will be, you know, funding for research. I think we had this debate recently about new funding from the central government for research in Hong Kong, but that's only going to go to patriotic researchers. And again, this all comes out of the white paper from August 2014, saying that Hong Kongers needed to be more patriotic. And I think, in a way, from Beijing's perspective, it's quite natural, right? They think Hong Kong, 20 years down the line, it's time that you guys start accelerating the integration, and now we're a much more powerful, stronger country. If you want the benefits of being part of us, you know, you have to toe the line.
Okay. Now, last question I want to ask you, because we want to give more time for Q&A. Now, the privileged few, and there are only a few of them, like Lau Ming-wei, right? Do you think he cares about democracy? I mean, like with the billions behind, you know, like he is pretty much the same age as some of the younger legislators, like the leader of the Civic Party.
I think he's 35. He's the same age as me, I'm 35.
37, yeah.
He's now, maybe he's now a bit older,
yeah.
I interviewed him in my book. I can't speak for him personally, but I don't know, I do have a funny sense in talking to a lot of people in Hong Kong. I mean, that's the privilege of a foreign journalist. I can talk to pro-independence activists, I can also talk to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, the Hong Kong government. I get to talk to a wide range of people, and honestly I feel even a lot of people in the civil service, in the government, are quite uneasy about what's happening. I think they just react in a different way, but I think across all sort of socio-economic sectors, people share, you know, that same connection to the Cantonese language, traditional characters, like you were saying earlier, you know, the Hong Kong way of life, just Hong Kong as a place. It's simply a different reaction about how to protect it, and I think there's a strong argument that, you know, the Hong Kong government is actually trying to protect space for Hong Kongers by fending off Beijing, right? By giving them what they want to keep the central government happy. They're trying to protect the space for Hong Kongers as long as they can. I mean, and some people in the system definitely tell me that. So I think it's easy to think they have bad intentions, but there is a case that they're trying to do their best, just in a different way. And some people would say the best way to protect the space is to fight all the time, and others say no, you have to, you know, give Beijing something, you have to calm them down. And it's definitely the case that Hong Kong issues, from a central government perspective, have gone from the sort of low-order economic and social in-tray to being in the sort of national security in-tray for the top leaders, and that's not a good thing for Hong Kong. Once it's included with Tibet and these other key national security issues, it means their focus is going to be on squeezing, not on, you know, allowing more space for Hong Kong.
How many people that you interview already served jail term, or will be like facing trial?
I think 4 have been in jail or are on their way to jail. Ba Jiolun is being convicted and facing a jail sentence, but he's not yet in jail because he's appealing. Right. So 4 out of 19, but not everyone I interviewed was political. So some weren't involved in politics. But I also interviewed artists who haven't been to jail yet, but they've had their work removed from show in Hong Kong and struggling to get funding.
Okay, now the book is on sale, $70, right, per copy.
Yeah.
And we will go for dinner at 8:30 sharp, so we'll leave some time for Q&A afterwards.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. 好啦，咁我調一調過嚟啦，同黎明博士傾幾句，跟住就 Q&A， 程生就負責嘅。咁就Minnie 你就冇預備個 PowerPoint
係冇嘅，
就首先就恭你先啦，新婚係嘛？
哦，好耐啦，
真係好耐嘅咁就原來咧Roger 依人喺度嘅 ，Roger 都係 D100嘅主持啊，即係中氏兄弟Roger 遲啲會嚟，咁一人介紹下，一人可以教我哋點樣唱下歌啊。
哦，可以，你可以問佢嘅。
OK， 咁嗱，不如咧同你傾下先啦。你就10年前嚟香港，係咪？就係個個都係共青團，啲人會覺得好 amaze 話喂共青不離啦嚇。咁其實個個都係人都係㗎啦。咁共產就係要 being invited。
要 apply， 跟住佢會 approve 你，會有起碼兩個人要推介你，同埋要睇你一陣，觀察你一陣。
OK， 嗱我睇到阿 Wayne 咧嗰個 PowerPoint 咧就話其實好多其實係研究生啦，就係嚟香港讀書嘅，咁亦都即係我哋2047香港監察裏邊咧有批係好少咧。就係都係內地背景嘅，咁但係咧就因為由於都好驚啲所謂 infiltration 咧，上個禮拜都同你傾過，就係啲 WhatsApp 都要得分開好多組，就唔知有啲人話可以去到北京啊，我都好驚，因為就原先呢度就係佔中金融組開始先，後尾就佔中完咗就變咗2047香港監察，咁就大部分啲人都支持香港講真話啦，講要有真普選啊，就登真係 FT 啦 ，FT 咧就登咗去話對中國共產黨的10大訴求，就用英文登添。咁習主席就都未必係咁高興，因為就寫俾習主席嘅嗰陣時就佔中之前。咁你點樣睇香港？你即係依家係香港人啦，香港叫做永久居民。你頭嗰幾年嚟呢度係唔係有少少 shock 咗，就係話六四係咩咧，或者係香港啲核心價值咁？點樣搞翻掂啊？即係頭嗰幾年。
Okay, so if Ben was sharing from an outsider perspective, then I'm sharing from a marginal perspective.